You're live. You might be live. Okay. Of course, my hair looked better yesterday slightly, but it'll have to do. I'm doing a shirt video about flannel and wool shirts, and of course, I'm wearing neither because fans of this channel will know that once I get moving around and active, I might be sweating a bit, and if I have to, I can always put on my cap, ball cap. I didn't bring in, I wasn't planning to do this video per se, but then I realized, well, apparently my videos lately have been terrible in the algorithm. So my late autumn reset, which officially actually happens tomorrow, like nobody's watched that video that I did 10 days ago. And my boot video has barely gotten any views. Usually people like my boot content, but they're skipping that one for some reason. And this week I have no real boot update so far to even go into, so might as well do this. So if you're interested in that reset video, you can go watch that one. I've showed all these shirts, I think, last year, and episode 147, I think, and then some of them in episode 166. And then there was also a reset video in there, 153. There was a couple other videos, 179, 183, and 191 might show some of these same shirts. And originally, way back when, if you go way back when in my outerwear playlist, there will be probably some others ones, but the main one, one of the first run of videos that I had planned even before I had the channel was episode number 19, the wool shirts video. So that was fairly comprehensive, although I hadn't bought some of the shirts that I have now that I think I did show already last year anyway, the wool ones that I got from eBay or whatever. So, there's a couple different types of each, I guess. Like I've mentioned, you got the office casual kind of friendly ones, and then the more heavy duty ones, and then you have the chamois shirts, which I did not bring in any chamois shirts either. And this is when we're talking about, more weight of fabric and type of usage than patterns and colors and textures and all that, which of course I've done all that before too. So if we have all the wrong shirts at the top of the ones, let me start though, before I get into the show and tell. I was watching another guy's video, and he was only focused in this particular video on heavyweight flannel shirts and no wool shirts. And so I'm kind of doing a little bit more of a comparison, even though most people don't consider wool shirts flannel shirts anymore. I think I've mentioned that before too. But I was on his video, he was showcasing a little more brand specific of his top brands, and I don't really have a top brand as such in that way, except for I have more LL Bean than anything else, except for maybe JCPenney, and I've mentioned this before, and of course the LL Bean ones are higher quality than the JCPenney. And I do have wool shirts from both Pendleton and Woolrich, and I do have also cotton shirts from Woolrich that I've talked about all of them before. And so I will be, showing again the slightly different variances in the things based on cotton versus wool and that. So I was saying to him, I mostly have some heavy ones from Orvis and Bean and some other older Woolrich ones before they changed all their sizing that might still fit, which would be this one. And I tried it on after I wrote him that, and I can button most of the buttons. I lost a little bit of weight, but it's still a medium. I really would need a slightly larger size to wear it out of the house comfortably. But bumming around the house, if I need a cozy, heavier shirt, this one, again, having the pocket flaps and the big buttons and all that, this will do nicely when I definitely don't want to wear an itchier wool. I'll get into that in a minute. But I don't get much use out of them in the milder winters here. He has snow. I like don't. Same as the wool I mentioned months ago when I watched his previous video. Digging them out of storage now to survey my inventory since we've had a bit of a rainy weekend, but I haven't located all of them. Mostly the bean stuff still wins my annual assessment for most use, question mark. Actually, JCPenney probably wins that contest. And then, of course, what I bought the Land's End that I've worn one of them. I haven't worn them all. I bought the Kohl's brand one, Aero Postal or whatever. I have somewhere in here. Eddie Bauer. Those are bean. Again, I don't really want to do the show and tell just yet. Okay, but here's one of the heavier Orvis ones. I haven't worn it yet. Really wanted to get into this one last year and then didn't. So this year we're getting a little bit of a cool down sooner, but what is the weight of these? Probably like 9 ounce, a little bit heavier than some of the, I think the bean ones clock in typically around 7 ounce, and the JCPenney ones are like 5.6, somewhere in there. Don't quote me on that, but memory serves, because I've talked about this before. So this one is a little bit heavier duty, but still a cotton. Again, that I haven't worn. So to compare that with a lighter weight Orvis one that I would estimate this around the 7 ounce, but don't quote me on that. Again, I think this is about the same as a bean Scottish tartan one, but more expensive. So they do have some nice patterns and things, but I haven't really worn the Orvis ones as much as the bean ones. But of course, Bean changed their return policy and blah, 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 and Orvis hasn't. So if these run a little small on me now, this one being a large, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to fit in this or not yet. I'll have to try it on again. Might fit a little bigger than this. Don't know yet. And of course, being flannel, we always have to worry about shrinkage and that kind of thing. Okay, so yeah, so I said other more mid-weight stuff like Eddie Bauer, Land's End, JCPenney, Bass Pro. Yeah, I just had Bass Pro. Where'd it go? Bass Pro, which this one looks like a chamois shirt, but it's not the same weight as the chamois shirt. It's just a solid color. And I've shown this one before. But this one, I think definitely at least a 6 ounce-ish. Not as lightweight as... The texture is different than the JCPenney anyway, but the JCPenney one's been washed and this one hasn't, so I don't know. Don't quote me. I'm just, Bass Pro, these brands always get a fair amount of use, more for, to keep my pricier ones in good shape to last more years longer, etc. I might declutter a bunch more of these finally next spring. Anyway, I did get rid of some of the JCPenney ones and things to one of my neighbors a few months ago. He was very appreciative of beat up shirts or whatever. So that was nice, and now he's gone, so we'll see. These, the ones he was showing all look a bit short, like heavier duty ones made more for untucked use only, which I have a couple corduroy shirts that maybe could use the hem straightened to wear like this, but typically I prefer tucking in my shirts and then wearing a shirt, jack, or jacket or sweater over them. Although, again, with something this bulky, that's not going to be impossible with a shirt jack, but it would look kind of silly if the flaps of this are hanging lower than the shirt jack. So, but this being, again, a medium, it is too short to really tuck it in, so that problem solves itself. But again, I'd have to be wearing it in like more of an emergency situation to want to wear it out in public than just bumming around the house. Again, like I said, but if I wanted a heavier, warmer one, then yay. But I won't be able to tuck it in very effectively unless I had really high-waisted trousers. So yeah, so I don't buy shirts that I can't tuck in. Typically, like I said, I've had these for years. It's a fluke. Whereas a shirt jack, they're too thick usually to want to tuck them in. That's the whole point of why it's called a jacket, even though it's made out of shirting material, often on the exterior or whatever. Some of them are wool, some of them are cotton. I did a whole video about those two a long time ago, and in my outerwear playlist, you can find what number that was. Probably 21 or somewhere right around the wool shirt episode. And I might have made a follow-up when I did jackets and sport coats and all that. I don't know. That was about a year ago. So he said he didn't include wool because he was worried, even though he likes his wool shirts more than a lot of the cotton ones for warmth or whatever. He didn't want to include wool because a lot of people have a wool allergy. Now, I think a lot of people think they have a wool allergy and maybe don't. And so when I was 4 or 5, I was young. I think I was 5. And I was playing with some cousins or some neighbors or whatever. And they had given me a wool blanket, probably an old army blanket or something, to use as like a Batman cape. And I got a really bad rash all in the back of my neck. And so for years and years and years, me and probably my mom feeding this phobia until she changed her mind one time. I, assumed I had a wool allergy, even though it was just a heat rash or friction, from this thing. So I don't care what, gripe you might have about wool. How dare I showcase them both as if they're the same? I don't know. Save that for your therapist. I am showing wool shirts. I don't know if Pendleton are the best wool shirts, but they still have an edge over some flannel ones for supposedly temperature control, and especially when wet. I don't know how much of that is a myth. We've been debating that in other video comments about sweaters and lanolin and discussions about that kind of thing, and questioning. I've had a wool shirt. It was not the Pendleton ones, the discontinued LL Bean ones. And I don't know that I believed that it was 100%, better insulating or that much warmer necessarily than the cotton when I got rained on and switched my sweaty shirt or whatever. And I still felt kind of cold, and, good thing I was moving. And I think I've talked about this in previous videos before as well, that, it was probably more of, it was probably raining enough, not, a little bit more than a misty morning, but it couldn't have been a super serious downpour rain. I don't think that particular time. Oh, fans of the channel might note there's a little bit of glare. That's kind of annoying. I'm covering it most of the time. I did put up some different posters now. I don't know if I can really adjust. No. Can't adjust the camera to show the Van Gogh stuff more, or the one on this corner. I took down the ones that were there, and I put up a Jerry Garcia Cats Under the Stars thing that I've had for a long time. And this one I think is, I move the mouse every time I think you people can see the cursor, but you can't. That poster there might be a smidge crooked because I had trouble hanging it next to the cabinet, being in the way, and getting that last inch off that footstool didn't really work. But bonus points if you can name this man, who is a real person. And I'm not positive if it's the same guy in the next poster or not. I don't know. But so yeah, I did a little bit of slight decorating, and I'm seeing that for the first, I wanted to test the camera first and see, and yeah, the glare is kind of, but again, I'm covering it most of the time. Sorry, little tangent there. But anyway, so yeah, these, again, I don't I don't know the exact fabric weight, but somewhere between 9 and 11 ounces, probably in that range ish. And this is another Woolrich one that looks like it's that heavy, but it has more of that waffle texture and a lighter weave and a blah, blah, blah. And of course, I've worn this one a few times now, and it hasn't shrunk or done anything, even though it is a size large. It's fit pretty well, even though a lot of these I would prefer an extra large. Anyway, so that kind of brings us to, not every flannel is going to be brushed the same. This was maybe technically not called a flannel. It might have been called something else, but it has this like real waffle maple syrup backwoods cabin look to it. So, it's become, one of those autumn staples a bit for the last couple of years. And it has a nice texture to it for, pretty soft or whatever without being as warm, but still cozy, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know if you can call, that weave exactly the same thing as flannel, because it's kind of a super loose canvas instead of a standard twill. So for those of you who aren't familiar, well, this one you can see the herringbone's really good if I come in close. And so that twill weave being a thing. And some of the flannels will have a houndstooth texture. I don't think I brought in any of those. Well, it'll be houndstooth pattern, but the texture will still be a twill. It just looks different. It's not woven different as far as I know. Whereas this one, you can see that the weave is, cross hatch as opposed to vertical lines. Right. So, and then this one, of course, being, like I said, more of a chamois, where it's a total, I don't know how to describe the weave exactly on a chamois, but a denser, thicker, tighter weave. Still, again, more of a crosshatch like a canvas, but a lot softer than canvas. Yada, yada, yada. Again, we're having contrast color buttons. We don't have a button down collar. We have pocket flaps and outie pockets instead of. This one's kind of a weird one because this one has. I don't remember. This is the wrong one to show because it's in a bag. Let's go with this. So yeah, the J.C. Penney one, just a standard single chest pocket, so a little more office casual friendly, and again a lighter fabric weight, still a twill. You can see the diagonal lines a bit, but with the big bold pattern, again a more casual look than some of the ones I might show. Although most of these are going to be super casual. I don't really have. Except for that, oatmeal one, but that still has chest pockets. Most of these aren't super office casual friendly. But this one does have a button down collar also, which is technically casual, but some people associate it with wearing a tie-ish. So it kind of gets that Oxford button down crossover look that you could wear this with a tie, with a solid tie, or even a knit tie, and like a dark brown. But it's not a dress shirt by any means. So that kind of thing. And this, of course, being St. John's Bay J.C. Penney, one of the older ones. Not one of my super older ones, but older a bit ones that has been worn. Whereas, and then of course, here's another J.C. Penney one. Exact same thing from around the same time. And this one being kind of a nice neutral winter color. A little more office casual friendly, but it does still have the dark buttons for contrast. And similar to that, this Beretta one that I wear for the holidays, often I'll put a red or a green sweater vest over this to really pop the Christmas feel of the thing because I don't usually wear this until December. And this could also be a spring shirt, though. It's kind of a nice, light, airy color, but I usually wear it in holiday season. So that also, this one having a button through, I just noticed, I forgot to mention, a button through pocket, but still a single chest pocket. So office casual-ish. This being a bean version, I have a couple different ones of a, what is this, a Glen check or whatever, where we have, again, this, but this one being a merino wool blend, and it's mostly cotton, like 20% wool. Not a ton wool, but a little bit of wool for your whatever reasons. And of course, the button collar, again, you can wear this with a tie, you can wear this with a sweater vest. It's not too woolly, it's not too itchy, it's, you know, it's mostly cotton. I don't think Bean offers this type of thing anymore, but other brands commonly will. But they'll usually cost a lot more than Bean probably charged for this when it was new. And again, another holiday. Now I've gone all blurry. Let's see if I can get it back. I hate when it does that. I don't know how to get it. So give it something to focus on, and hopefully. Well, the more I move around, the less it's going to focus, but I have to make a video. And those are two of the same thing. I usually save these more for the later video. Okay, let's do that one first. I've shown all these before, but we're showing them again. So like something like this, you know, again, technically officey friendly, but oh, there it goes. Super sharp focus all of a sudden. Technically officey casual, but the pattern is really bold. So that's one of my kind of go-to color schemes. And then here's the newer one that I got that's more tan than red and navy. Lands End. Again, I'm not as familiar with this brand, but I did go with the extra large with these since most of these JCPenney ones are large. So if I want to layer, I have that option. Whereas those I can wear by themselves without needing a t-shirt or whatever underneath, or a thermal shirt or something. Wear something like this. If I want to wear a thermal shirt, then I have a larger size to do that. And same with this Aeropostale one. This one is a poly blend or something. These I got an extra large, and the sleeves are a little long on these. I complained. I thought I'd worn this one. I guess I wore a different one. And this one still has the tag. Where is the content? I know I read this all before when I first got them. This year I did a no buy year. Something 60 something percent cotton, 27 poly, 8% viscose, whatever viscose is, made with recycled cotton and recycled polyester. So water bottles in my shirt. Okay. But I hadn't really tried this brand, and so I thought I would give it a shot and see how it goes, because these were on sale for like $17 or something, and they have pretty big chest pockets. It's not quite office casual. It's a little more office casual friendly, I think, than this one. Slightly, just because it's a little more muted with a little less contrast. Your results may vary. So the reason I may keep bringing that up is because I was watching a video about denim jeans from a few months ago, and I've been arguing with people. I don't really wear denim jeans very much at all, and the guy was arguing that even though denim these days isn't necessarily considered workwear as much as some of the tech fabric stuff and that kind of thing, and cotton duck, again, the heavy canvas from Carhartt and Duluth or whatever. You know, flannel shirts still get bandied about most often as workwear, as opposed to some other type of shirting in the winter. You know, even though it does have its, its snag, it can burn. Um, in terms of office casual, if you get the less expensive stuff, it pills up and it doesn't look good. But if you're in a warehouse or a construction site, nobody's going to care if you have a lot more pilling on your shirt. As I used to, as I said in the early video, I used to think that the pilling was kind of what made it warm. That's really not true, but it does come from being brushed a bit. The other version, though, since we're talking about like business casual, then we're talking about like more outdoorsy, heavier duty. The next one would be the Western style. This is the one I've been wearing this week. So if you went in my community menu and saw my photos already, I reposted some photos. But here we have snaps instead of buttons. And again, we have pocket flaps typically. So a total casual shirt, no button down collar, just a point collar. Snap front. I thought this one was a blend, but it says it's cotton. So I guess we'll trust it. Take it at its word. But yeah, I'm just not wearing this one for this video. But this one has yokes on the front. You can see the contrasting plaid going diagonal in the pockets and the yokes. But then on the back, they did a straight yoke instead of a pointed yoke. But they did do a little bit of pleat here. Surprise, surprise. You might not get that on every single inexpensive shirt. This one was a hay band one, not a super expensive shirt. But when you first watch them, they lint a lot. Some of their shirts lint more than others. This one, seems to have calmed down since then, and I've worn it a bit. It doesn't have an adjustable placket or whatever you call it here. There's no second snap. There's only one. A lot of times there will be multiple snaps, but usually they're going up and down the cuff, not adjustable like a button sleeve cuff. Again, a typical office casual feature, but this one doesn't have it. This one only has one button. So again, if you pay $17, you might not get that feature. Whereas if you buy an LL Bean one, I'm willing to bet you're going to have more buttons. Yeah. So stuff like that. You could, of course, always add a button on a cuff. That's pretty easy to do. Out of all the things that you might have to modify on a shirt, adding a button would definitely not be that significant of an issue. So skipping down through these three, then this is just more of the same. So this is just a newer JCPenney one. Same thing. Just different color label. Kind of a friendly office casual tartan instead of a non-symmetrical plaid or whatever. You could wear this to an office on a Friday and nobody would really complain. You could wear this with a tie, a solid blue, or maybe even a red tie. Nobody would really complain. You could get away with this. But this is not one of the Scottish family tartans that I know of. It's just a play on, it's maybe similar to a Stuart if you want to get technical, but not really. Whereas these are more real tartans. Show in a minute. But just to finish up this other conversation, so again, then an even newer JCPenney one, again, not in a most office casual friendly colors, even though it still only has one pocket and it has button down. I would still say this is too outdoorsy for most office use as opposed to the last one. Then Eddie Bauer coming in, similar but a different texture than the other ones. Almost like a regular twill work shirt, a little bit more, and they have different fits. This is an extra large in the classic, which I think is the right size for me, but I can't remember which one's the more tapered and which one's the less tapered or whatever. I know I've worn this, but I don't know if it fits as good as the other, whatever the other fit is. I don't know. LL Bean kind of did that to me a lot these last 2 years. A lot of the shirts that I've wanted to buy only come in the tapered skinny fit, so I haven't been buying them because I have a bit more of a belly than that. But this one definitely office casual friendly, more of almost a buffalo check, kind of a slight variation, a true buffalo check, of course. This one kind of almost 3 colors. A true buffalo check is, 2 colors, the black typically and the other color. I couldn't find this shirt that matches this hat. I don't know where that went. That's kind of weird because it was in the one drawer and now it's gone. And I put the other green wool one in that drawer instead of this one, so I don't know where I put this one. Kind of annoying because it's one of the ones that I would typically wear around this type of year. And then, of course, the iconic red and black, which this hat is not the best representation, maybe, but I have a bunch that I showed. Again, if you want to watch last year's video or the year before or whatever, those are buffalo check. This is not exactly buffalo check. And this, also not exactly buffalo check, but a typical hunter kind of red. Again, I have houndstooth ones. I have different ones that are polyester. So something along these lines is, pretty traditional, pretty lumberjacky. Again, with the button through pocket instead of just a single pocket, but still only one pocket. No collar, stay, deal, whatever. No locker loop, a lot, that's kind of hit or miss. Some brands will give you some extras. This Eddie Bauer usually does stuff like that on certain things, but this one not so much. This one, it does have the pleat in the back, whereas this one has no pleat in the back. So, that kind of thing. This one costs more than this one, but it is a very nice soft shirt, which I talked about before. This was the Trout Run ones or whatever. I really, really wish they hadn't changed all their sizing around because I don't think I'm ever going to buy Woolrich shirts again because getting them to fit is the impossible dream now, apparently. Here's a cheap one from Walmart. I think this one was like 12 or 13 bucks. Again, with the bold pocket flaps, the no button down collar, no pleat down the thing, but it might be cotton all the way through. I don't know. I have to find the other tag. Does Walmart give you all cotton? Maybe they say they give you all cotton. I don't know. Most of these I know are all cotton, unless I pointed it out. And okay, it doesn't say. Machine wash, color, style. What it doesn't say there. Sri Lanka. No, I'm reading that wrong. That does not say Sri Lanka. Okay, I guess I must have removed the tag. Made in wow. Bangladesh, not Sri Lanka. Okay. Almost Sri Lanka, but not quite Sri Lanka. And hard to read the tag. And why it doesn't say the fabric, I don't know. Anyway, tumble dry low, no bleach when needed, blah, blah, blah. And this is just washing instructions in other languages. Yeah, okay. Whatever this is probably cotton. So like I said, this one being a plaid that's not a tartan, or whatever. This was a different bean. What was this, the Kingfield or something? No, this is Scotch plaid, but I don't know what tartan this is supposed to be. But it's not a tartan that I recognize, even though it's. Why is my brain farting? I don't know what happened. Doesn't matter. Anyway, so yeah, a bean one that didn't get worn last year, that almost got worn last year. But anyway, these being the more recognizable tartans. This one being like almost a Stewart. This one being an LL Bean version of an almost Stewart. Very holiday friendly, very winter January. This one being Bass Pro Shops, and this one being LL Bean, and blah, blah, blah. And so this one being kind of a nice subtle nod to Christmas without being red and green. And this one, of course, the green has been muted to a brown, sort of like the ancient, or the weathered rather, tartans from the Scottish mills. Whereas this being more like a modern or an ancient, it's not quite orange. It's got orange in it where the red and the yellow overlap, but it has a red in it, so it's technically a modern, I guess. Yeah, color scheme. Although the blue would typically be darker in a modern, whereas this lighter blue would be more like an ancient. I think I've mentioned all this before, but I don't care. Whatever, we're doing it. And again, only one pocket. Again, with the button-down pockets. Again, LL Bean gives you a pleated back, although you can't really see it with all the stripes and boxes. So you get a little bit of bang for your buck with the bean ones, and they are very soft. If you can see, it's a little bit fuzzy, a little bit pilled, so that's the difference with some of the newer ones, whereas this older one, way less pilling. And also both sides large, but this one might be a little bit smaller. I don't know if it shrunk, but whereas this redhead, you can see a little bit of the distressing. It's not pilling terribly, but a bit more than some of the other ones. Whereas this Woolrich one that I wear pretty consistently most years if I get a chance, not a little bit of pilling, a little bit of wear, but not holding up badly. And this one does have a locker loop and pleating and a button down collar and very nice Christmassy colors, even though it's more yellow than green. It's still a subtle Christmassy nod. Again, not necessarily the most office casual friendly shirt, a little bit more outdoorsy and bold, but you could wear this around the holidays in an office a little easier than this one because it doesn't look as rugged, because again, this one's more beat up. But there are smaller versions of this that could work in an office. Again, this one being kind of outdoorsy but office friendly because the pattern isn't too in your face. Whereas, of course, this is Buchanan. There's no hiding Buchanan. It's just a loud pattern of all primary color. Then when we're going to get into more, these are more heavy duty. Let's talk about these two first, and then we'll talk about the heavy duty ones. So these are the other two more premium bean ones. This fabric, I think they still offer. The other fabric probably discontinued, but you might be able to find them on eBay or something. So this is the Wicked flannel, the Wicked Good, which is not meant to pill at all, and you can really see the herringbone, twill pattern or whatever. Again, borderline office casual. I mean, red is a pretty loud color, but holidays, you could, maybe get away with it. And this one, the traditional fit again, so it's not the super skinny. So even though this one's a medium, I can still wear it because they were sized bigger back then and blah blah blah. One pocket, all the rest. Actually, no pleats. Okay, so not pleats. Even though this shirt cost more than the Scottish ones because the fabric's better, they didn't put all the same details necessarily, and so that's where they cut a little corner apparently. Learning, but this shirt's 10 years old or something already, and I haven't worn it a lot, and they don't wear out all that much as part of the, like I said, they don't pill, they don't shrink, da, 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 da. That's what's supposedly made them worth the extra 10, 15 bucks, whatever it was. The unshrinkable moleskin, same thing, except a slightly different texture. Here we're not, again, I would say this is probably more of a canvas weave, technically like a chamois, but I don't know what the literal difference is between the moleskin and the chamois, except again, this is not going to pill at all like the chamois ones I think typically will. But again, here we have a point collar, but only one pocket, but a button through pocket. We do have a pleat down the back, so a little bit more of a detail for about the same price as the Wicked good ones, but again, I don't think they still offer this fabric. I have a couple in this, and they're all the wrong size. And the Wicked good ones, like I said, yeah, I know you can still get those. They're not windproof because they're not the thickest moleskin, but they probably are a little bit warmer. Maybe not warmer than the chamois, but less bulky for about the same warmth. Again, I'm sweating. I have to fix that. And this is a long video, but nobody will watch the whole thing, but it doesn't matter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, we got a few shirts to get through still, but we're almost done. Again, so this is just the same exact thing, I think, from Woolrich, just in a busier pattern as the one I showed earlier. So this one's a large, so this one should actually fit me. So that one might get used sooner than later, later than sooner. Don't know, who knows? Some of them were called the Trout Run. I think this was the Trout Run or something like that. And this is a thicker one called something else. And that other one, that Waffle Cone, whatever it was called. So they're all slightly different, but this one, yeah, this one's probably 11 ounces or 9 ounces or somewhere in there. So another one of those nice heavier ones, but again, their sizing, you have to order like 2 sizes bigger than your regular size. This one being a large, it'll like fit, but I won't be able to layer under it probably. So there's that. And then this one, also Woolrich. Buffalo check, different texture, so it's going to be a different name of a shirt than that one. This one a medium. Yeah, I don't know if I can squeeze in this or not. Still in the bag, unfortunately. One of the ones that got skipped, that didn't get worn when I first got it and then gained weight. But definitely bought back before the sizing went, because again, I'm pretty sure I can squeeze into that. We'll see if I get around to it this winter or not, or if it stays in the bag for another year. Whatever, it happens. Not the end of the world with some of the shirts. So the last, the Bean, this being the Tech, they were calling it wool, but it's a polyester. I think it's like 100% polyester. No, 90% polyester. Like 94 polyester, 6% wool. I know I talked about this before. So yeah, it has wool in it instead of cotton, but it's soft to feel like cotton, even though it's polyester. And they did kind of a Western yoke tribute and snaps and flat pockets and all that. So this was meant to be one of those moisture wicking, perfect hiking shirt kind of deals. I might have worn it hiking once. Mostly I just wear it as a casual shirt because it's kind of Western-y. Again, it's got the diagonal contrast deal going, you know, on the yokes, and it has the contrasty back yoke, but no pointy features, no pleats, yada yada yada. And it fits. It's a large, but I know it still fits okay. Again, polyester not going to shrink, and this wool washable. That's one of the major drawbacks of the wool shirts. Again, is a lot of them can't be washed. Kind of hit or miss when you go on eBay. I've ended up with some that have been washed and they're not the same size as it says on the tag, because they'll say extra large on the tag, and then you get it and it's a small or a medium, and you have to send it back. So you have to really watch for which ones are washable and which ones aren't. Most of the Woolrich and Pendleton ones, not really machine wash friendly, but you could try it on a wool cycle or something. Like this one I know runs a little bit small, but it's a size large, so I can, again, still kind of squeeze into it, but I forget what this was called. But this one has more of an itchy texture than some of the other ones. And again, and of course, a solid color, no plaid, no whatever. There was some that I found. I have a blue one somewhere. But these are not true CPO shirts. CPO shirts have a slightly different wool, probably a heavier wool. This one being a Pendleton instead of a Woolrich. But again, we have a single button through pocket. I mean, a bright red shirt. I don't know if you'd want to consider that office casual or not. This brown, kind of foresty, earth tone, marled fabric, I would also argue is probably not a great office casual shirt. Again, if you're wearing wool, even though it has button collars and a single pocket, it would depend on your office, I guess. This one having not even a button collar, but it does have at least the smooth nylon for your neck. The Woolrich ones don't come with that. Most of the Pendleton ones do, but not all. This one, for example, does not. This is an older one than from the newer issues ones. Pendleton has four main, I talked about this before, four main categories. The Canyon, which is the Western style with the contrast yokes and the snaps and the point collars, da-da-da. Then they have the fireside shirt, which this might be a fireside shirt or similar to a fireside shirt, that are going to be lighter weight than some of the wool. This one's not wool, by the way. This is cotton. But just shown. Again, no pleats. Well, this one's 20% wool, 80% cotton. So I stand corrected. So this is, I don't know what this is, but it's not the fireside shirt, which is 100% wool. So again, similar to that LL Bean one that I showed earlier, just a nice blend, but still mostly cotton. So anyway, where was it? Oh yeah. So anyway, so the Canyon shirt, you have the contrast yokes. You can see the diagonal with the points instead of flat, and then the pointed back, which is a little more correct Western. Although sometimes you'll have sometimes you'll have a double chevron for each shoulder in the back instead of a single one going down your spine. That kind of thing. So yeah, that's the Canyon. Then there's the Fireside, which I forget. Then this was the Trail, maybe. I don't remember. Doesn't matter. I haven't worn this one yet, but I keep meaning to. Since 1880 or 1853, something like that. Anyway, it's kind of a nice southwesty kind of mountainy pattern after one of their blankets, perhaps, or the same material from the blanket. I don't know. But this one will be, some of them will have elbow patches and some won't. So the trail shirt, I think, I don't know if this is the trail shirt, but the trail shirt should have the elbow patches. The fireside shirt, I think, does not. I don't know if I have any fireside shirt. This one might be a fireside shirt, or it might be the trail. I don't know. This is an older one that I got off eBay. So very similar to that other one that I showed earlier, that again, I would not consider this a very office casual friendly shirt at all. It's thick, it's robust, it has a pointy collar, it has flap, but snap, or button rather, pockets, contrasty buttons, big flat pockets, you know, and a serious enough plaid. You know? It says outdoors a lot. Whereas this one, again, very, very office casual friendly for holiday season use. This, again, might depend on your office because it's a more refined looking shirt, at least before it's been worn and beat up a little bit and whatnot, yada, yada, yada. And of course, this is total outdoors and Western man and cowboy stuff. And then, of course, the final, most famous one or iconic one or whatever is the board shirt, which I have the Beach Boys color one in the other video. This is the newer one I got on sale. I was going to buy a totally different shirt, and then I saw this one for reduced price and said, okay, you're my boy, and got it just because save money. And it's extra large this time, so I can definitely layer under it, although I think the large ones still fit me reasonably well. Pendleton, I haven't had as much sizing issue with them, but of course you're also, again, not washing these in a washing machine where you're worried about the dryer really shrinking them. Although if you did wash them on a wool cycle, I would probably hang dry them instead of risking the dryer. Maybe you can risk the dryer for like 5 or 10 minutes with some wool stuff, but for the most part, I think it's the dryer that really is. It went all blurry again. Whole episode of that, sorry. Anyway, I have a bunch of other ones, and here's a Woolrich one though that does have the nylon backing. I was saying they don't usually, but certain ones do. This is an older one though. This one's a size large though, so it might still kind of fit me. And made in China. So it's still made in China. And this one was made in, can I read that? Something Republic. Mexico of USA fabric. Is that what it says? Not Republic? Yeah, that seems correct. So, like I said, not a comprehensive rundown. Like I said, I didn't do any filts, and I didn't. I showed this one before. It's just another thick cotton, legendary whitetails. This is a nice shirt. I've worn this one a little bit, not a ton. A tiny bit of pilling and distressing from laundering. The kind of micro suede or whatever collar, probably. Made in China, so another one made in China. But, oh yeah, for those of you who don't know it, again, some of the Pendleton shirts have this, but most of them do not, as far as I can remember. So, okay, almost an hour of me talking about wool and flannel shirts, but if you didn't see my other videos before, then you can see this one now and reference those. I'll put some numbers in the description to make it easier. But again, if you go to the outerwear playlist and the Western wear playlist or whatever the other one is, they're all in there. And the cost per wear thing, I didn't really go into pricing that much because obviously the prices have changed a bit and sale prices will be low. Like this is typically around 120 bucks, but for sale price, I think I probably got it for 170-ish, which for a wool shirt I think is really good. Since again, the LL Bean cotton ones are now like 60 or 70 bucks or something for some of them. The Wicked ones I think are more the Scottish plaid and the Kingfield plaid and all that. I think are still hovering closer to 50, maybe a little bit less, if you can find them on sale. Also, because sometimes they'll have a discounted one if you don't mind getting the ugly pattern that nobody wanted, or waiting until the season's just about over and hoping they still have your size and all that kind of gamble stuff. I don't do that with every shirt, but you know, sometimes I get lucky. Again, this one, I didn't really need another board shirt because I already had a couple in the other colors, but when I saw it for the sale price, I was like, yep, okay, fine. Whereas, like, I know, pretty sure I got this one at full price or whatever, but the full, like I said, the 4 staple shirts I think all cost the same amount, and then the other shirts vary, and less wool, less money typically. So the wool ones you're going to pay a little more premium than a cotton because, you know, supposedly they last forever and can be passed down to your grandkids if, you know, they all weigh the same amount, or don't abuse them in the laundry or whatever, that kind of thing. Whereas a cotton shirt will last, as you know, depends on how much you wash it, depends on how much you wear it. Usually you buy something like this, you again can use it as work wear, but I think if you're going to do that, again, try eBay rather than paying full price and then, you know, taking it on the job site kind of thing, if possible. But it's a lot easier to find small and medium than it is to find large and extra large, you know, especially the condition. Because, as I've explained, even with flannel shirts and other things, well, typically people grow out of the smaller sizes and sell them off. The larger sizes, they grow into them and wear them and just wear them out. So you see a lot more smaller sizes available, and the pricing will usually be based on the condition, unless the guy's a complete, you know, this is a vintage 1953, it's worth $800. And you know, oh, no, I'm not spending $800 on a $100 shirt. This is not going to happen because I want to wear it, not collect it. You know, depends. Anywho, so yes, as usual, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments. I didn't really expect this to be such a long video, but I might as well get it out of the system and do it every year, even though I'm showing stuff that I've already showed twice or 3 times in some cases, maybe. Don't know. But weekly I update my, you know, kind of what I wore usually most weeks, just to give an idea. And my 12 boots in 12 weeks challenge is not really much to report this week. I only wore 2 pair of boots. I think I said that already. But I usually show if there's any significant, you know, new addition or deterioration or other, you know, wear and tear that's notable besides, you know, if it got a little bit scuffed in an hour, you know, I'm probably not going to show that in detail. But blah, 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 blah. And like I said, I have videos about sport coats and wool jackets and winter things. And one of my more popular videos is actually the winter hat video from 3 years ago or whatever. So you can check that one out if you haven't seen it already and all that. Okay. Happy Thursday.